is certainly something that in many ways could have cost him a lot, because he lost, in some ways, the girl he was interested in. He maybe lost some feeling of safety. What is his mindset coming out of this as he's kind of approaching things going forward?
I think there's a at the end of that episode, there is definitely a transformation that he feels, and a change in priorities. And I think in a way it just reiterated or reassured the type of man he wants to be, and why he chose this path, even though it's a hard path, because no one will ever understand. And I think he's coming to terms with people never understanding why he's doing that, and why he's doing something that is greater than them and than himself. So it was a reassurance, I feel like, that came into him with those last couple of scenes.
Well, and it was made clear that he was not welcome, and he very clearly also fought that back. How much safety does he now have in his home base, and how much is he thinking about kind of leaving, even though he did stand up for himself and his mother?
There's definitely a lot of risk, with repercussions, retaliation, that now he has to take in, and I think it's going to cause in him to be a different person, to have you get more paranoid, you get more, you get colder, you get more aggressive if you need to. And at the same time, he's a very dangerous person now, because he stood up to them, and that changed him. Like, I don't think he will ever be the same after this, deep inside. And I think that they also know that. So it makes him very dangerous to them, and hopefully a respect that they feel, and even a fear. Because sometimes I think he has to use fear in his favor, in the world that he lives in. Fear is a good thing. So if people can fear him, and respect him, he wasn't looking for that. It was called into him. It was called out of him, or pulled out of him. So, but I think he's gonna ride that wave too if he needs to. So I think he could be, even though he has a genuine heart, and he's a dangerous guy. It's kind of like, don't test me, but at the same time, I know where I'm at, and I need to protect my mother, especially.
Yeah. Well, and we saw him very specifically strip himself of, his cop gear and everything that kind of tied him to that life. But that doesn't make him not a cop. So is there what can you say about maybe potential consequences for him, given that he did make that stand for himself while he was technically still on the
Yeah,
job?
yeah, that's a that's a really good question. I think he hopes that maybe he can keep it to himself, or rely on some people in his team to, like, you know I don't know. I actually don't know the answer to that question, but I have thought about it now, and it's gonna be interesting. It's definitely gonna, because yeah, clearly it wasn't necessarily the most moral or right move or illegal move to do. But I just thought I think in that moment he knew that was the only way, and he trusted that.
Yeah. Well, and just to quickly touch on that, we saw that he did kind of evade Atwater in during the case. What lessons did he learn about himself as a cop, about how he can approach things going forward, and maybe trusting his team and that they'll have his back?
Yeah, I think that he's learned little by little that they're there for him. He's lived and grown up knowing that he can't trust anybody but himself, which is what makes him probably very similar to some characters on the show, like Voight, but I think little by little they are winning his respect, by showing up, because he would do the same, absolutely.